At the end of this session, I want to help you erase the words terrible twos from your dictionary. Sounds like a tall order? Well, I'm going to work towards that. I have split up this training into two main parts. So in the first part, we'll work on your perspective about tantrums, because really I can give you all the strategies in the world to try, but if you don't have the right mindset about what tantrums are, nothing is going to work. And in part 2, that will be the more actionable part, where I will give you strategies on how to respond in the moment. We will dive into exactly what does connection before correction mean. Let's dive in. Part 1. What are tantrums and why are they healthy? Let's do a quick Google about what tantrums are. Tantrums are uncontrolled outbursts of anger and frustration, typically in a young child. I would like to add that sometimes adults throw tantrums too. The truth is, as humans, we all experience feelings. We can't change that. But here's the difference between you and your child. When you feel upset and disappointed, you lament to your mummies or family WhatsApp group chat, you speak to your partner, or you think of solutions to solve the problem. And that is because you have a developed brain. But your child does not have a fully developed brain. Take a look at this brain imaging and compare the 5-year-old brain and a 20-year-old brain. The blue and purple parts that show the more fully matured brains can hardly be found in a 5-year-old brain. The areas in the prefrontal cortex that are responsible for emotion regulation, problem solving, and any higher order thinking are among the last to be fully mature. You have a repertoire of tools when you are dysregulated, but your child only has one in his survival toolkit, and that is his body's natural adaptive strategies of fight, flight, and freeze. For example, when you take the devices away, when you insist on your child drinking from the blue cup instead of the red, when you tell your child to put on their school uniforms, you are seen as a threat to your child, even though you are really not that threatening. But better be safe than sorry. So the amygdala in your child's brain, which is responsible for keeping them safe, will start flooding the bloodstream with stress hormone cortisol and bring them into the states of fight, flight, or freeze. Fight can look like hitting, kicking, throwing objects, biting, and other aggressive behaviors. Flight can look like the child running away, and freeze can be the child crying uncontrollably. In other words, the emotional outbursts, also known as tantrums, are coping mechanisms for your child to return to emotional equilibrium. Your child is externalizing these emotions because they don't have the skills to manage them yet. So what do we do? Let's go into part 2. How to respond to tantrums in the moment. Let's think about what happens if we respond to our child's tantrums in these 4 ways. Firstly, coerce. Stop crying. If you continue crying, I will take away your screen time. Secondly, cave in. Okay, you can play for another 5 minutes. Thirdly, correct. I told you I need to cook dinner. It's already 6 p.m. Fourth, connect. You really wish to stay longer at the playground. Let's look at the first method. When we coerce and threaten, our children learn that expressing emotions is linked to consequences and may inadvertently suppress their emotions in order not to lose privileges. When we tell them to stop crying, we not only invalidate their feelings, we are also sending the message that their feelings are not important and not valued. Over time, children began doubting themselves for having these emotions. Children suppress their feelings because they don't want to lose the love, attention, and validation from their parents. Psychologists call this repressing coping, and it is not healthy for your child's mental well-being and can lead to anxiety, depression, or other mental health challenges in the long term. Before I learned about positive parenting, I often threatened my son to keep his toys and come over to the dining table for his meals. One day, as he grew a bit older, I heard him tell my daughter, "If you don't play with me, I will not let you play with my toy train." He was threatening her, and he obviously learnt it from someone, and you know who that someone is. Method number 2, when we cave in to our children, they learn that crying is the way to get what they want. So the next time they desire something, they will start crying because it has been proven to be effective in the past. In addition, having no boundaries lead to less predictability and more anxiety. So far, method number 1 and method number 2 are not ideal. Let's go into method number 3, correcting. Correcting or rationalizing with your child can help them to learn, but never do it at the peak of a tantrum. Take a look at the tantrum arc. At the beginning, your child is triggered and they experience feelings that they cannot manage yet. At the top of the arc, your child is most dysregulated, and you know that at that point, the learning centers of the brain are shut. There is no way your child can learn, understand what you say, or pick up any skills to improve their behaviors. Your efforts to correct are futile. But if we wait for the arc to flatten a little, when the child becomes less tense and able to access their prefrontal cortex, that is when the teaching can become effective. You may be thinking, we allow them to cry, but we don't give them what they want? Jacinth, what exactly do you want us to do? The 4th method, connection is key. We connect with our child. We can say yes to how they feel and no to their behaviors. Connection is the secret to getting your kids to open up to your guidance. That looks like validating their feelings, listening to their stories, and help them to feel seen and heard. You might be wondering, you want me to connect with my child who just hit a sibling or refused to go and take a shower? Yes. Remember, you can say yes to how they feel and no to their behaviors. You want to connect with your child even though you don't condone the behaviors, because as an effective parent, you know when is the right time to teach the child, and there isn't any point in correcting the child at the peak of the tantrum. So wait to teach and connect first. You can do so by holding space for your child. Holding space means to be present and emotionally available for your child without judgment and without having that urge to fix the problem. Actively listen to how your child complains about how he wants the toy from the toy store. You can nod your head and allow them to express their feelings, but still not buy the toy for them. Sometimes you can add in some short sentences. For example, if your child insists on more cookies when they had more than they should, you can tell them, "I know. You want more. You are upset. You wish you can have more cookies." Some children are receptive to physical touch, like hugging, holding their hands, rubbing their backs, as these actions can stimulate a release of dopamine in their blood, and this can provide safety and comfort. This is a very important note. If you're doing something else, please come back to me. By connecting with your child, your goal is not to stop the tantrum. Yes, you got me right. We don't want to stop our children's tantrums because your child is outside your circle of control. You can only support and journey with your child through the highs of the tantrums so that they can come to a low on their own. While this process of connecting with your child can be long and very frustrating, know that your child is building emotion regulation skills in the process. I mean, you can't expect a child to eventually know how to regulate their emotions when you don't let them experience these emotions in the first place. What's after connection? Correction. Many parents think that Discipline is synonymous to punishment. They are not the same. Discipline, rooted in discipulus, which is the Latin word for pupil, means teaching, imparting knowledge, and developing skills. When our children misbehave, we want to teach them instead of instilling fear in them. Fear-based parenting does not teach children skills to behave better. We know that children throw tantrums because they either lack the words or the skills to be able to work through those emotions. If we know it's the skills that our kids are lacking, it is our role to help them and teach them develop these skills. Punishments don't work for tantrums because why would you punish someone for not having a skill? Here's one way to correct your child. Involve, not instruct. Work together with your child to solve the problems within the boundaries that you have set. Note that this does not mean that your child can get anything that they want. It means setting empathic limits firmly, consistently, and guide them, brainstorm ideas to how we can come to a win-win situation. Before I go into how to connect before we correct in the moment, I would like to add that the most effective teaching actually happens outside the moment. Of course, I won't be able to cover everything in this short session, but bear in mind that the behaviors you see are usually clues to what the child needs. So take time to meet their daily needs, to meet their need for your love, attention, and autonomy. When you can work on addressing this root cause of the problem, your child will need to act out to get their needs met. How does connection before correction look like? Let's consider the first case study where your child throws a tantrum when screen time is up. When you connect with your child, you can tell them things like, I know it's so hard to stop. You want to continue watching. When the tantrum arc flattens, you can then work on correction. I will have to turn off the TV because we've agreed that you can only watch for 20 minutes. Let's think about how we can help you with this. Do you have any ideas? If you have younger kids, engage them in role play. Let's pretend that you're watching TV and the timer rings, ding, ding, ding. How are you going to hand the remote over to me if your child refuses to follow the routine to brush their teeth? Connection can look like, you really hate brushing your teeth. When the tantrums are flattened, work on your correction. We brush our teeth so that they won't decay. How can we keep your teeth clean? Another strategy is to be playful, which is one of my personal favorite because it lightens the mood and everyone is relaxed. So you can tell your child, do you want to brush your teeth standing on one foot or on tiptoes? I have shared many strategies and tips, but here's the most important one. I'm leaving the best for the last. The most important tip to manage tantrums is to manage your own tantrums. Really, it's not about the tantrums that your child throws, but how you respond to these tantrums. And the way to learn how to manage yourself is through education. When you can understand why your kids are acting out in this way, you can then focus on effective strategies of being a parent to connect and ways to correct your child so that they can develop skills. You can work on breathing to stay calm instead of joining in the chaos. You would have noticed by now, when we yell, our kids will yell. If we can deal with matters calmly, our children will approach any challenges they face with calmness. Do you realize you have so much power in deciding how your child will turn out? So I'm here to cheer you on to work on your self-regulation, read and educate yourself through books, through podcasts, through research articles. It is a disservice to our children that we have access to this research and findings and knowledge, but we do nothing about it. If you have watched till this part of the training, please give yourself a pat on the back. It's really amazing. You're making progress in becoming a better parent for your child. In summary, there are many nuances to connection before correction, and I won't be able to cover everything in this training, but I hope that I have achieved my goal for you to erase the terms terrible twos from your dictionary because our kids are not terrible. They're trying to externalize their emotions so that they can cope with the big feelings. Our job then is to build skills in them, so we want to allow them to feel the feelings so that they can work on the regulation and also practice to develop the emotion regulation skills, the problem solving skills, decision making skills, self-control and more. I hope this mini training can kickstart your learning journey to understand your child's brain and body's development, manage tantrums with confidence and work on your own self-regulation. If you found this training helpful, please let your friends know. Send them to ourlittleplaynest.com/tantrums training and they can also learn from the tips and strategies that I've shared. I'm also happy to hear your feedback either via email or in social media like Instagram or Facebook. Remember, connection before correction. I'll chat with you soon.